Hey, on, mate, you all right? Hello, Jack, you all right?
Good, mate. Are you?
Yes, thank you, mate. Yeah, appreciate you taking your time out to do this interview.
Not a problem. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, mate, loud and clear. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, fine.
Brilliant stuff, brilliant. So, obviously, we're here today to talk about your Mansfield career as well as your footballing coaching career. So it basically all started off at Woodhouse Colts, then, essentially, for you then.
Yeah, it started when I was about 6 or 7, and both of my brothers used to play for Woodhouse Colts, so I used to go and watch them when I was younger. And then I just gradually got into football and then started playing for Woodhouse Colts.
Is that when Mansfield came to scout you then, Jack? Then is that when it came?
No, I didn't actually join Mansfield till I was 16 because I actually got a scholarship at Notts County.
All right.
But I was there for about a week and hated it. So I left and came back home.
What was it that he hated about it? Was it just the didn't get played much, or just what was it?
No, it was basically because I had to move to Nottingham and I'd only just left school and I probably weren't ready to move away from home and, still a bit immature, but yeah, I'm glad in the end it worked out for me, obviously coming back to Mansfield.
Yeah, so it was like an early point in your career as well. So perhaps it was like one of them moves where, obviously being at such a young age, perhaps do you think that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, I'd probably say so. Like I say, you forget how young being 16 is. You've still got loads to learn and you're probably still a bit of a mummy's boy at that age and you probably don't really want to leave home.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So obviously when you came to Mansfield, obviously if you played through the youth side, how was that then? Like, obviously because I know you was captain a few times. How was that then playing through Mansfield?
Yeah, I loved it, to be honest. It started with Mark Link and Mark Hemingway and I enjoyed it playing under them. But then when Adam Murray and Richard Cooper came to take over, that's when I really felt like I was getting somewhere in my football career because obviously there's no better person to learn from than the first team captain.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, so go on, mate.
Sorry, just saying, especially because he played in my position too, so he obviously was a big help to me.
Yeah, I know you've said so before in like previous interviews in the past when you were playing for us that he was such a massive influence on your career. So, was that like just someone like you say experience, someone that knows the club? It must have been massively beneficial to you as well.
Yeah, it was, and I'd even say just by watching him train, so not even him just coaching me, but like getting because they were training on the pitch next to us. There were times you just stand and watch him, and it trained like every training session was going to be his last one. So you might get others who like walk around in training, but Adam was always on it, always making sure standards were high, and yeah, it was a massive learning curve for me.
So yeah, just to briefly talking about Adam Murray, there, as you mentioned, you learned a lot from him as a player and obviously as a person as well. So what kind of manager was he like to be playing under then, Jack?
He was it was really good, as in you could have a laugh with him, but you also knew when he wasn't happy with things. So I think he had a really good balance because he knew when to come in and have a laugh and a joke with you, but he also knew when to be serious. And I think as a player, you need that. I don't think you can be 100% like strict all the time. You need to have an environment where you can let your hair down and enjoy yourself a little bit too.
Yeah, just like have a bit of banter in between, but at the same time, like you say, just be obviously professional at the same time. So, like you say, just have that mixture of both, really.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, I don't think you can go into training or go to a game knowing you can't have a laugh and a joke or you can't do this because you might get told off. It has to be where you go in and you look forward to it. You go in to have a laugh with your mates, and yeah, they are your mates because you're with them all the time.
Yeah. So obviously you made your debut, I believe, at 17, if I'm not mistaken. How was that for you, coming on at, I think it was the game against, what was it, Rochdale? 3-0, I think it was.
Rochdale.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I don't think I actually touched the ball, to be honest. I came on in the 90th minute, but it was just, going from watching and when I was younger, having a season ticket with my mates, and then all of a sudden you're making your debut from it. It's a weird feeling.
So did you know that you were going to be played like in the second half, or was it kind of like a brief conversation where Adam just said, right, you're coming on essentially?
Well, it was under Paul Cox, actually.
Oh, sorry, Paul Cox, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, but if I remembered, I think it was the first season when they weren't in any trouble of relegation, but they couldn't quite make it into the playoffs. So he actually said in the last month or two, it was Liam Marsden at the time. He said, there's a good chance you'll make your debuts. And then, the Rochdale game, I was on the bench and he brought me on for about 2 or 3 minutes.
So how did you find Paul Cox as a manager as well?
Yeah, really good. Really good. Especially because I think he's got this reputation where people think all he wants to do is lump it forward, but I didn't really see it like that. Every training session what we had, there was a lot of possession drills, but he also wanted a fit team who was hard to break down, and he didn't want us to be a team what was wide open, conceding 4 or 5 goals a game.
Yeah, I mean, they were very physical teams, weren't they? I think, Paul Cox's was, especially, even obviously back in the conference, and it just like continued into the league, really. So he was another manager that obviously he played under again on, I think it was at Barrow, I believe.
It was.
So he was another influential figure as well in your career.
Yeah, he was. I'd say every manager what I've had has been influential, whether it's for a good way or a bad way, but you still learn from every single one.
Yeah, like different techniques and just different methods and what have you like, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because I find it hard to imagine that every manager's the same, because they're not, are they? You're going to get managers who have different ways of coaching, different ways of talking to the players. So, I think you can learn from every manager, but not only the good points. I think there's things where you look at and you think, if I ever go into coaching or if I'm a manager, I wouldn't do that myself.
Yeah. So obviously, when it was your first full season under Adam Murray, when he took over as full-time boss, I mean, that first season, I mean, I think in that same season you got the Chad Sport Player of the Year, I believe it was, and just watching from the sidelines, and I think a lot of Mansfield fans will agree watching this, is you had such a great breakthrough season. Was that what it was like for you as well?
Yeah, it was. In football, confidence is a massive thing, and Adam and Richard Cooper, they just basically gave me that freedom to go and enjoy myself, and I did. I was going into every game just thinking I was going to play well, and as a footballer, when you're in that point, it's just, you look forward to every single game because you feel like you're playing with confidence, and when you're confident, that's when you play your best.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, a lot of players say that, and it is really true. So, what would you say would you highlight at Mansfield? Like, what game really stood out for you out of everything?
I'd say there's a few, to be honest. Probably there's the Rochdale game. Obviously, making your debut was a massive point in your career. Obviously, my first goal against Portsmouth is a goal I'll never forget.
Yeah, and
a big one, and I think you fans will probably agree, was the Notts County one, 5-0 at home.
Oh, that was phenomenal. I mean, I was just going to bring that up later on, actually, but no, seeing as you brought that up, I mean, another time in that same season, when we beat them at their place 2-0, and I can remember that night because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Liam Noble that did that interview, basically saying, it was going to be an easy game, and then obviously we just completely outplayed them. Like, it was such an amazing night, that.
Well, to be honest, Adam Murray used his interview for our team talk. He put them up on the wall, basically the quotes, what he was saying before the game. And they obviously worked because we went into that game really wanting to win.
Yeah, and what was it like to be playing a part of just against Notts County, both home and away?
Yeah, brilliant. To be fair, I'd probably say I enjoyed the away game more just because the fans that night, from what I remember, they were unbelievable. I'm sure we had 3,000-4,000 there. I can remember after the game just walking, clapping them, and it just felt like the walk were miles because there were that many fans.
Yeah, I mean, I think at one point as well, there was even chanting your name, Jack Thomas is one of our own. Like, I mean, that must have meant a lot to you as well.
Yeah, it did. Obviously, you're beating your local rivals, fans are singing your name. It's what you dream of when you're younger.
Yeah, I mean, that must have been, because obviously you played in a lot of big atmospheres yourself as a player. I mean, Fratton Park being another one. I mean, that must have been, something similar to that as well.
Yeah, that was unbelievable, especially when their fans get behind them. It's deafening. But to be honest, I was never lucky enough to play. Every game I was on the bench. But to be fair, the dugout seats were nice and comfy, so that made it a bit better.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So I was going to ask you, what your best goal was, but I think you said earlier on it was a Portsmouth game at home, and if I remember rightly, you got that in the top corner. It was such a great goal that was.
Yeah, I'd say that's my best goal, but I enjoyed the Oxford goal too when I came off the bench, and I think we drew 1-1 in the end.
Yeah, I remember that game. Yeah, it was great game because we hadn't played particularly well that day, and then obviously he came.
No, we didn't. But to be fair, though, I think we were flying at the time, and them results, when you go away from home, nicking 1-1s, 2-2s, come end of the season, they're big points.
Yeah, I mean, we're perhaps unlucky, to be fair, because obviously with Adam Murray at the time, because obviously, perhaps if he had been given a bigger budget, then perhaps we could have, gone even further, to be fair. I don't know if you agree on that one or...
No, I definitely agree with that. But if I remember rightly, I think, was we unlucky with injuries too? I think we picked injuries up at bad times, especially there were times that season we were flying, teams couldn't live with us, but then we'd get the odd injury to key players, and obviously the squad wasn't the biggest, so injuries did hurt us at the time.
Yeah, but I suppose the other thing I seem to remember is obviously when you say we had the injuries. I mean, it also gave you a chance as well to stick a claim for. So there is that side to it as well.
Yeah, it's one of them because you don't want your teammates to get injured, but you also have to use that opportunity because when they're back, you don't want to make it easy for the manager to say, well, you haven't performed, he's coming back into the team. So it's down to you to take that opportunity, really.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously with Adam Murray, obviously leaving the job, I mean, that must have, how did you react to that when you found out that Adam Murray?
Yeah, I was gutted, to be honest. That hurt me a lot because I wasn't expecting it. I don't know if you fans were, because I know we were in a bad run at the time, but like I said, we were getting red cards, we were getting injuries. So probably harsh looking back, but personally, it did hurt me because it done a lot for me in my career.
Yeah, as obviously coaching you and just looking at someone. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the season previous obviously kept us in the league, and I don't think he did a bad job considering obviously the budget he had. I don't think he did a bad job, to be perhaps. But yeah, I mean, it was when it got announced that he was sacked in the end. It was a bit of a shock to everyone, I think, because I know he wasn't in the best of forms, but every team goes through that, and I kind of thought he might have had more time, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I thought the same, to be honest. I wasn't expecting it at all. I can remember, I'm sure, was it a Monday afternoon or Monday evening when he went? And I was...
Evening, I think?
Yeah, and I was just sat on my Xbox playing FIFA, and I'm scrolling through Twitter, and it says Adam Murray has been relieved of his duties. It was like, what? Like, nobody expected it in the team or anything.
So there was never any disputes in the changing room, no falling outs. It was just business as usual, essentially, even when we was on that bad run then.
Yeah, no falling out, nothing like that. I think from what I believe, all the players were still behind him. It had nothing to do with him losing the changing rooms. It was just, like you say, teams, it does happen. Teams go through bad runs. It's just how you deal with it.
Yeah, and I guess that's football. I mean, football being a results-based business. I mean, you're looking at recently. I mean, Paul Tisdale and Keith Curl, even though they did, wasn't in the job for long. That's it, just a couple of defeats, and that's it. You're out essentially. So that's what I mean. You don't get enough time, I don't think, in football.
No, that's how the game's going, isn't it? 2 or 3 bad results, and all of a sudden, your job's on the line. It's crazy, really, but it can sometimes go the right way or the wrong way. So you see it a lot where managers go and then teams start picking up. It's weird how it works.
Very much so. But then again, I think, to be fair to Adam, he's doing quite well at Barnsley. He's the youth coach there. So he's, like I say, it's good to see him still involved in the game as well.
Yeah, it is. And that doesn't surprise me because his coaching, unbelievable. The attention to detail, what he has, going through videos and looking at the opponents, it was really good. And I wouldn't be shocked if he did get back into management like in some time.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, obviously he's experienced a lot in such a young career, so there's every chance he can still learn from them times at Mansfield as well as other clubs that he's managed. So yeah, I mean, I don't think you can rule that out, like you say.
No, I wouldn't be shocked. I've seen it on Twitter. Was it last week or the week before? He linked to the Port Vale job. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he does get back into management soon. But he's obviously doing really well at a championship club, so he might not be in any rush to get back into management. I don't know. I'm not sure.
So obviously, very shortly after Adam Murray left, Steve Evans come to the club. Obviously, there's been a lot said about Steve Evans, of how he can be, very passionate, as well as other things to describe him. But how was he with you then, Steve Evans?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. We'll never be best mates. So I'm not his biggest fan, but he's got a good CV, hasn't he? He gets promotion where he goes, and the way he manages it must work because he's got promoted with teams and he's had a good career in management.
So was it one of them then? Did you have any offers to go out on loan or permanently? When you was with the club, then was it every one of them? He just sat you down and just said, "Look, you're not really part of the plans." Was that kind of how it went essentially?
Well, to be honest, I were playing reserve games, playing really well, playing me right back for some reason. But yeah, and then I can remember one day he pulled me in training. He said you could be a really good League Two right back. So I thought, right, okay, if it means playing, I'll play. But and then a week or two later, I think it was a team photo on a Sunday, and I got a text that day evening just said, "Don't come in tomorrow, come into training Monday," and that was it. So I'd been left out the team photo. So I went in. I said to him, "I'm obviously not in your plans. So what's going to happen?"
Yeah.
And then he said, "You can go out on loan." And then from what I know, he's just turning offers down for some reason. But in the end, I went to Boston because Adam Murray had gone there.
Yeah.
He then recalled me for what's the cup called when they play like Premiership teams and Championship teams? They're 21s.
Check a trade, but then again, it changes every season.
Yeah, it does. So he recalled me for that. I think we played Notts County away, actually.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I came on for half an hour. I did really well, and then I think we had another Czech Trade Cup game against. I can't remember. Was it Everton?
It might. And it's been a few years.
Yeah, and I either didn't come on or I came on for 10 minutes. So I was like, "You've recalled me, not to play me." It was just, I don't know. I just personally felt like he was doing it just to hinder my career a bit. That might have not been his plan, but that's how I felt at the time, because I thought, if I'm not playing, why recall me back for no reason?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I was just looking at last night, funny enough. I was looking at, when you did go out on loan to Boston at the time, and I remember him saying, Steve Evans in the interview was saying, obviously the fans at the time, obviously he was obviously highly rated, and he was saying he was going to send scouts there to watch you, and he reassured us fans that basically you'd still have a big part to play. So it's essentially lied to everyone, like yourself as well as fans, really. It was a bit of a strange one. Even to this day, I can't understand why he'd just not tell you, say, right, well, you're not in my plans, essentially, because at least then he's been honest with you. But for him not to telling you anything, it's odd.
No, you're right. And as a player, I'd rather a manager say to me, "I don't want you, go and find another club," because when it's hard when you're going into training and like you're going on a Monday and you think I'm here all week, and whatever I do, whatever I'm the best trainer all week, I'm not going to be involved on the Saturday. So it's just a bit deflating. You go into training and you think, what am I here for? You want to go there thinking, if I train well, I'm going to play on Saturday.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, I know obviously for every team, it's obviously difficult for any player to get in any side, but so you essentially just kind of throws you out then, which essentially.
Yeah, I'd say so. I don't know if that were his plan intentionally, but that's how it felt at the time. Because, like I say, doing stuff like recalling me back from my loan when I was flying at the time, I was getting my confidence back, feeling the player what I'd been the season before. And then he just recalls me just to play reserve games. It's like, why?
Yeah, that as well is like you say, you've been a midfielder, obviously started out as a midfielder, and then you're being asked to play in a different position that you're not used to playing. So I don't know how any manager can expect any player to play in a different position when they've not been used to it, because it just it doesn't work,
Yeah, to be honest, I think it was just because we had that many players at the time.
Yeah.
It was either play right back or you don't even play for the reserves. So for me, if it meant playing, I'd play anywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think anyone would disagree with that, to be fair. I mean, he did, it's one of them. I mean, to be fair, we did, when before he left us, he did leave us in a good position. But even then, even to this day, I think it was kind of shady how he went about it, because he said he was going to China and then he ends up at Peterborough. So, he just essentially lied to a lot of people. And again, I'm not knocking his CV. Obviously, he's got 9 promotions and but it's just, I don't know. It's just a bit unprofessional, to be fair. It could have been handled better, the situation.
No, I agree. And to be honest, I don't think it was fair how he treated the chairman and Carolyn, because he basically got anything he wanted off them. If he wanted a player, they signed him. So
yeah,
I think the fans loved him. They had that song for him, didn't they? So just to walk out and just, I don't know. In football, managers are going to move on, but I think there's a way of going about it. And
yeah,
I personally don't agree with the way he left the club.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, same with a lot of fans are the same. I mean, myself included, because obviously he came in promising we're going to get promoted, and that's the reason why obviously the Radcliffes went out and got him. And you won't find a better owners at this level, to be fair. And as I say, they gave him a lot of money to spend, and just for him to go halfway through his season, you'd have thought he'd at least stayed until the end of the season and then perhaps gone.
No, I agree, but that probably just sums a person up, if I'm going to be honest. Like, I know some people couldn't do that because the way he got treated by people at the club. Like, people loved him, the chairman loved him, the fans loved him.
Yeah.
So if that was me, I couldn't do it, but he obviously could.
Yeah, I mean, it's what you find in football. I mean, to be fair, it's kind of, I want to say karma, because he hasn't really done a lot. Like, he hasn't had a promotion since, so he hasn't really done anything since that. So perhaps that's his karma, really.
I think it was a strange one though, because from what I remember, the team were flying, and I really believed if he stayed till the end of the season, we probably would have gone up automatically, not just through the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was a strange timing of it. I mean, usually when managers leave, it's usually when they've had either a better offer or somewhere else higher up, or because you've been poor. And I don't know, it was just strange timing, like you say. It's just really weird.
Yeah, it was. That was another one though, quite unexpected.
Yeah, very, very much so. It's been strange this past few seasons at the club, really. With managers coming and going, like, and then we had obviously the start of this season, Graham Coughlin, and he come with a big reputation as well. And then obviously that kind of just petered out. And it's only now until we've got Nigel Clough where we've actually started looking something like.
And it's what you want to see, though, isn't it? You want to see a team where, like, you fans now, you probably look forward to watching them on a Tuesday night or a Saturday night, a Saturday afternoon, because they're your team. You want to see them doing well, don't you? And under the new gaffer now, the run what they're on, they're flying, aren't they? I seen a stat. Is it only 4 or 5 teams were unbeaten in 2021, and Mansfield are one of them?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we all think it's us, Man City, and I can't remember the other teams, but yeah.
Doncaster, I think they might be one.
Yeah, could be. So speaking about Nigel Clough, have you met him yet? Then have you seen him? Or?
I went to watch the under-18s. When was it? About 2 weeks ago, and he was there watching. But I actually work in Melton Mowbray doing the college program, so I don't really see much of him. But from what I've heard, he's a really likable person, and obviously the players like him because you can see that from the results.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, well, you mentioned there. Obviously, you're back as it's a youth performance coach, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. It's just
I'm
doing the college program.
Oh yes. So how did that offer came about then, Jack?
Well, when I joined Baseford playing, I was doing the coaching there. But then I spoke to Richard Cooper, and he just said, "Would you like to come back and just do some coaching with the club and learn from people like Mike Whitlow, John Dempster were there at the time, Jamie Maguire." So a lot of experienced coaches. So there's not really many better people to work with than people who's been there and done it.
Yeah, I mean, it must be, it's great for you to come back, really, because it must feel like you're coming back home, essentially, because obviously you're still part-time playing for Baseford as well, so you're still playing football as well as you're learning from coaches as well as, you're around the younger players, so you can, pass on your experience as well.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm actually at Ilkeston now. I left Baseford at the end of the semester. But yeah, with the coaching side, I'm quite surprised how much I enjoy it, to be honest, because growing up, I was always shy, didn't really get involved. But as a coach, you have to, because like players look up to you. You can't stand there and not say a word to them.
Yeah.
So it's actually helped me come out my shell a bit more, and like, I don't know, just don't be so shy. And I'm really enjoying it. Obviously, learning from really good coaches too. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, when you've got people like Jammer there that you play and obviously played alongside as well, it must have been a lot, an easy transition, to be fair, as well for you.
Yeah, it was. Obviously, if you go into somewhere where you don't know anybody, it can be a bit nerve-wracking. But I walked in, and obviously I played with John Dempster, I played with Jammer, so yeah, it does help knowing people.
So you obviously being a performance coach, is that essentially, like you say, just teaching the younger players and just essentially just doing that then?
Yeah, just doing the younger players, and it's the college program what I do. But if there's any like good lads coming through, I'll tell Richard Cooper to just keep his eye out on them, and if they keep doing well, maybe go up to the training ground for a session or two, so they can have a look.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean the academy's come a long way in these last few years. I mean, obviously with the training ground, that the amount of youth teams we've got on this side, it's come such a long way. I mean, the Radfords again, along with Steve Hymas and everyone else involved, they've put a lot into that, and it's great to see some young players coming through. I mean, obviously Alistair Smith, he made a few first team appearances, and I mean Jimmy Knowles, he's another young player as well that's got potential as well.
Yeah, and I think for probably League One and League Two clubs especially, I think you have to have young players coming through. If you look at teams like Exeter, they've always done it. They probably sell one or two a season.
Yeah.
So for the smaller clubs, I think it's really important, and for you fans, because I know when it happened to me, you fans want to see younger players. It's especially young local lads too, because they're one of your own at the end of the day, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, like I say, a lot of money's been put into getting the younger players through, and I know it takes time. Obviously, you've got to obviously make sure they're ready for any league football. But I mean, that's another good thing about Nigel as being a manager as well, because he's a kind of manager that would, put the young players in. He said in a few interviews that he's got a lot of things in mind with young players. So hopefully, the next few seasons we can see some younger players make the step up.
Yeah, definitely, and for the academy managers, I think that's a big thing too, because if they're coaching the lads every day thinking, I'm just coaching for the sake of coaching, it can be hard for them to keep motivated too. But now they're coaching them thinking, if we do the right things and if the player does the right things, he's going to get his chance in the first team. And as academy coaches, that's what you want. That's what you're paid for, to bring players through the system.
Yeah, it is, and it's like I say, it's been quite a few seasons since we've like seen many homegrown talent, and hopefully now in the next upcoming few years, we'll see players like Jimmy Knowles, who's doing really well at Notts County. Hopefully, he's another one that can come at next season and hopefully make an impact.
Yeah, no, that's the plan, because if you're not going to bring players through, or if players aren't going to get a chance, there's no real point in having an academy. But I think, look, you can see now, especially with the gaffer in charge now, that's his plan. He wants to bring younger players through, and if they're doing well, they will get a chance, and it's really good to see.
Yeah, it is, and like I say, it's been amazing since obviously the Radfords, like we always say, they've just put so much into the club, and it's them that really deserve obviously the rewards for that. To be fair, because like you say, obviously firsthand as a player, they've put so much into it, and it'd be nice to get something back for them as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say if any owners in football deserve promotion, it's definitely them two. The things what they've done for the club, like you go up to the training ground and it's a championship club. It's got the base to be a championship club. It's just getting there now, and hopefully with the gaffer in charge, they can maybe do it this season, if not next season.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you touched upon there, the facilities we've got, the how we're set up as a club. It's like it's so frustrating how we're not higher than what we are. And like I say, obviously we hope to be soon. But like you look at that, the facilities and stuff, and it's just frustrating at times, isn't it? Because we've come so close, and hopefully now with Nigel, that's been there with Burton, obviously got them up to the championship. Hopefully you can just replicate that here.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it'd be good for the town too, because everywhere you go, like if you go shopping, there's people walking around with Mansfield Town jackets on or jumpers. That's what the town. A lot of people in the town look forward to going to watch Mansfield, and they want to be watching them in League One in the Championship. So hopefully, in the next few years, it can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you say, if not this season, then next, really. I mean, how we started this season, obviously, it was a bit, probably a bad start, to say it, lightly. And it's only recently that we've looked like a team now, to be fair. So I think, if anything, as long as we can just improve on what we did last season, I don't think anyone can really complain, to be fair.
No, definitely not. But what I would say with the league, how it is this season, I still think the club's got a massive chance of getting into the playoffs, because if you have a look every week, teams are taking points off everybody, basically. If you look the other night, was it Tranmere going away to Stevenage? Did they beat Tranmere, or was it Southend? And
Yeah, it's Stevenage, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a weird league. And so if the club keeps its run going, because teams are going to keep dropping points. And I think, obviously, if we keep the run going, we'll be in the playoffs.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, plus if we can, get at least half the game in, because obviously you've got to think with the game in hands we've got as well. If we can win majority of them or get, much as points as what we can, then there's every chance we can, get up there.
Yeah, there is, definitely. Like I say, I'd say in League Two, there's always one or two teams what put a good run together. And at the minute, it's Mansfield. So hopefully that could continue and keep going up the league.
I hope so. Yeah, so we've got a couple of fan questions here for you, Jack, from some Mansfield fans. So I know we've touched up on it. I know we've touched up on it earlier, but obviously, what have you made of the academy? So from what you've seen.
It's just a really good setup. It's got everything in place now to start bringing players through the system, and that's the plan. So hopefully in the next year or two, you fans can start seeing young academy players playing for the first team.
Yeah, hopefully, like you say, we've got experienced coaches there as well, and players that have played for the club as well, like yourself, as well as Jammer and that. So who better to learn off from, like people like yourself, really, and hopefully we can see some coming through.
Yeah, I think it does help having people there who has played for the club, because we can pass our experience on to the younger players, because it can be hard for a younger player coming through, and if you give the ball away, you get moaned at or booed at. And so it's just preparing them for the first team, because it's not always easy to break into a first team. But what I would say, there's a lot of talent in the academy, and I wouldn't be surprised in a year or two next year or two if players do start breaking into the first team.
Yeah, I know a good thing about having young local lads. They know what it's like to play for the team, play for the town as well. So that's another massive incentive as well, because you can spend loads on a player, but it's never quite the same unless you're born and bred here, like yourself, really. So that's what we've been missing, in my opinion. To be fair.
Yeah, no, you are right. I totally agree with that, because from my experience, when you're doing well being a local lad, it's just amazing. Like I said earlier on, I was going onto the pitch every week, just knowing I was going to play well, just because I was confident. The fans were singing my name, getting behind me, and it is a massive help having fans behind you and them wanting you to do well too. It's a really good feeling.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, like myself, or just any football fan, if anyone would just give 5 minutes to be on the pitch. So to actually do it as well, it must be like a dream come true for you, essentially.
Yeah, it was. Like, going back to what I said earlier, having a season ticket, going to watch every home game and away game, to be fair, but then all of a sudden playing for him, it was a really weird feeling, but also a feeling it was just a really a feeling of proudness, and just it was a dream come true.
Yeah, it's great to see, really, that is. So, I know we've spoken, earlier on about, obviously, some of the matches that you played in the Notts County derbies, as well as just other matches like your debut and stuff. But what would you say was your, individual favourite moment in a Stag shirt?
It weren't a really good team performance or anything like that, but I'd say the Tranmere game at home, because it was either if whatever team lost were basically relegated or very close to relegation. And we nicked it 1-0 on the night, and that was massive for the club, because I do think if we went down, it would have been hard to get back up. You can see that from teams in the conference now. So, yeah, that were a big moment.
Yeah, that Tuesday night game, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember that. It was I'd say it was very scrappy, if I remember rightly. It was obviously both sides, obviously, not wanting to make any mistakes and that. And obviously, luckily for us on the night, we managed to, get the result, and then it secured our safety, essentially.
Yeah, it was a very scrappy game. I can actually remember, I think for the last 15 minutes, Matt Reed was playing centre half, heading all the balls away. So, but yeah, that was a massive win. It was.
So, out of your playing career, then, not just at Mansfield, but any part, for any team, who would you say was your toughest opponent that you come up against?
Oh, good question. Can remember playing Leicester the season they actually won the league, and Danny Drinkwater played, and just how fit he was and how strong he was. It was an eye opener. You can see how good they are at the top level compared to League One, League Two. It is a big difference.
What is it, do you think? Just the fitness levels, just the quality in general? Do you think they're the two main factors in it?
Yeah, I'd say they're the two big factors. Just obviously they get more stuff, so they're bound to be fitter. They've got better facilities, and it was just the way they played too. They were just so quick, playing one touch, and sometimes you were looking around your shoulder. You had 3 or 4 players who you were trying to mark, and it was like, where are these coming from?
So, obviously, we spoke about when you was with Stags playing. You obviously got along a lot with all the players that you played with. Who would you say was your best friends from Stags?
Jamie Maguire, I'd say he was definitely up there, especially because I couldn't drive at the time, so he was basically my taxi driver.
Yeah.
There was quite a lot. I got on with Sasha Studer really well. A big one too was Christian Pierce, especially not as in best mates where I would text him all the time, but when I weren't in the team, he was always saying to me, keep going, keep your head up, go out on loan, get games. So he was a big one who always gave me the right advice. And when you're going through a bad stage in your career, people like that you look up to.
Yeah, it was kind of unlucky that he got released, to be fair, Christian Pearce, because he was obviously with us for a few seasons and he was a complete solid rock in defence. And I just, even now, I don't think anyone can, believe why he got let go, to be fair, because he's been probably one of the best defenders that we've had in recent seasons, to be fair.
Yeah, it's really good player. It's so strong and good at reading the game. It's just everything what you needed in a centre half, really. It was quick, good on the ball. So, yeah, he was a really good player.
Yeah, another player that you mentioned there was Sasha. I actually interviewed him a couple of weeks back, and he was just saying how much he enjoyed coming over here. Obviously, I know he wasn't with us for that long, but he said he was actually going to come to a game, funny enough, before obviously the COVID happened and stuff. So once this is all over, he was on about coming to a Mansfield game.
Yeah, it was a funny character. You could always have a laugh with him, but he was another one. He knew when to have a laugh and when to be serious. So on the training ground, he was always 110%, but off the pitch, you could always have a good laugh with him.
So, like, the team spirit when you was playing, like, it was great. Then you just got well.
Yeah, Adam Chapman too. He was a big one. Always having a laugh with him, and obviously playing in my position too. He'd always try and help me, like give me advice.
Yeah. Brilliant stuff. Just a couple more questions before we leave the interview. So yeah, I remember going to one of your evening whiffs. Funny enough, the club that must have been such a big thing for you as well. Like, just sitting down in front of Stags fans, and that must have been a big thing for you at the time.
Yeah, it was. It seems a long time ago now, but it was a really enjoyable night, to be honest. Because I was dreading it because I'd never done anything like that before, but. Just talking about your favourite moments, like growing up, talking to the fans, it really enjoyable evening.
Yeah, it must have been a big thing for you as well. Obviously, with your family seeing you up there as well, it must have been such a proud moment for you as well. Like, I mean, first time doing it. Like, I mean, obviously, I've been there the same night. You just look really confident. You didn't even look nervous. So I think you handled it pretty well. To be fair, to say it was like the first time you've done something like that.
Yeah, and to be fair, Steve-O helps. There's a lot worse people you could get interviewed by. You can always have a laugh with Steve-O, and yeah, like I say, it was a really good night.
So obviously, I usually ask ex-players, obviously, if you still stay in touch with them, but obviously with players, but obviously you're still at the club, so obviously you still stay in touch with obviously a lot of the players then still.
To be fair, I'm not in touch with that many people anymore from who I played with. Not in a way where you fall out or anything. It's just people are busy. You go your separate ways, don't you, in football? But there's also a lot of people who, if I needed anything, I could text, and I'd like to think they'd be there to help me or give me advice.
So, like you mentioned, obviously you're playing for Ilkeston at the minute. So there's been a lot of talk of whether or not the league's going to end or anything anytime soon. Have you heard anything, or is it just more of the same essentially? Or
no, we're just waiting to see basically. But I can't see any other way how the league's gonna carry on. I just think it's just gonna get cancelled because I'm sure we've only played 8 or 9 games. So how are you meant to fit 30, 35 games into 2 or 3 months? I just can't see it happening, unfortunately.
Yeah, that as well as the funding as well. I mean, it's one of them. It's are they going to cover the costs of like obviously wages and all things like that?
It's a really tough situation for clubs, and it's sad to see really because I can see a lot of clubs maybe having to go bust because they just can't afford it, and you can see why, because it's been over probably a year now since we got a good run of football. We've had 2 or 3 months, then lockdown, then 2 or 3 months, then another lockdown, and it must be really tough for clubs at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, even league clubs, to be fair as well. I mean, you're seeing some, I think it was Chesterfield that they put some players on furlough, which I do find a bit odd, to be fair. I mean, I get it, clubs are struggling, but it's just, I don't know, it's just a bit strange seeing that, to be fair. But that's what it's coming to with obviously how tough times are for teams.
Yeah, and especially, obviously, fans being there is a big one. So it must be hard still playing, but we know fans, because that's obviously where a lot of clubs get their money from.
Yeah, especially, your lower league or non-league sides, to be fair, because obviously that's what they rely on essentially is gate money to keep things going and like. So obviously, you played some matches without fans, like you said there. How would you describe that then? Like, what was it like for you? Just very strange then, I'm guessing.
Well, we were quite lucky because we actually managed to play with fans there. It was just on a lower capacity. I think we're only allowed 20% of the stadium capacity. So even 300-400 fans, it's still better than none. So I've not actually played behind closed doors.
Let's look at that, to be fair, because obviously league football still obviously having to continue, as well as obviously Premiership and that, and obviously they're having to do it at the same time. So yeah, just probably like the last question I've got here for you, Don Jack. So obviously you're still playing part time at Ilkeston at the minute. Have you got any future plans to become like a manager yourself, or are you still just concentrating on just playing at the minute and just kind of seeing what happens?
Yeah, I'm just seeing what happens, to be honest. I'm still only 24. I
I
feel
mean.
a lot older, but yeah, I'd say management is a long way away yet, but it's also something what I really enjoy coaching. So in the future, I wouldn't rule it out, but for the time being, I'm concentrating on my football and then just making sure I still do a good job in my coaching.
Yeah, so obviously you still watch Stags in on the iFollow thing, or?
Well, to be honest, I don't really get a chance anymore because I play on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And then through the week, I'm living with my partner now, so I can't really see her being happy with me watching Stags on a Tuesday night.
Well, it's funny actually you say that, because we've actually rearranged the game against Colchester on Valentine's Day, so you can spend a day watching that.
Yeah, I'm sure that'd go down well.
Yeah, I mean, I could imagine what that's going to be like. I mean, it's just really weird, isn't it, for everyone, not just in football, but just in life, not being able to like just do anything really, because obviously it's like you just look forward to it all week, and not just as a fan, but as a player, it must be really strange, really, because obviously you look forward to playing in front of fans, really, because I mean they can say what they want, essentially it's great playing, but it's not the same as having an atmosphere, essentially.
No, it's not, and you can see how much it's affecting the players. I watch Premiership games at the minute, and they're quite boring. But I wouldn't really say that's the players' fault, because how many times does a player fly into a tackle and fans cheer it? And it's just that atmosphere. It does get players going. Whether fans think it or not, they play a massive part.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, last question I've got here for you, Jack. How would you describe the Mansfield fans, when you was a player? What was they like to you?
They were brilliant to me, to be honest. They really took to me, and that meant a lot. I was just a bit disappointed how it ended, because I felt like before Steve Evans came in, I was doing really well. And then I kind of feel like the fans thought I weren't a good player anymore, but I wouldn't say that's the case. It's just confidence, and different managers get the best out of other players. So it's not a fact I wasn't good enough. It was just the change in management probably went against me a bit.
That's what I mean. Just the last couple of things I've got to say, but yeah, I mean, it kind of looked like that from the sidelines. I mean, when Steve Evans obviously come in, we talked about it earlier, but that's essentially what it was. Would you say, with you like not going that further with just the confidence? Because like he obviously shown the ability that you had as a player, and was it just confidence then that really was a big issue?
Yeah, confidence is a massive thing, and like I say, it's hard when you're coming in training on a Monday and you could be the best trainer by a country mile, but he had in his head, I'm not part of his plans. So that does play on your confidence, and it kind of ruined your love for the game too. Like there were times I'd go and watch him on a Saturday, just sitting in the stands, and I'd get back home and I'd say to my partner, like, I'm fed up with football. I don't want to be involved with football anymore, because whatever I was doing was just not good enough, whether I was the best player or not. And yeah, it can be hard, but you learn from it.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be fair, like say you were only 24, to be fair, it's like, obviously you've played at the league at such a young age as well. And, obviously you're a coach now yourself. So to be fair, I mean, you're learning a lot as well from a young age. And a lot of players don't seem to get that opportunity until they're like, at least 30. So if you can learn as much as what you can, then you can always take that into like coaching in the near future, and perhaps be a manager yourself one day.
Yeah, no, you're right, and like I say, I'm not sure what the future holds when it comes to management, but it's something I definitely look to when I'm older. But still only 24, so a bit of a while yet.
Yeah, you might as well just enjoy playing while you still can, to be fair. I mean, it's one of them. I mean, like they always say, football is such a short career, to be fair. I mean, I don't know if that's right in saying, but a lot of players have always said that.
Yeah, it is. Every season seems to get quicker, and
Yeah,
it's been tough these last 2 seasons, but it looks like we're going to have 2 just completely voided. So that's 2 years of your career just basically wiped out.
So is that essentially just, obviously, when you're not playing, is it just one of them you're just keeping yourself fit just in case, obviously, when you can play again, is that all essentially that you can do really for the meantime?
Yeah, it's just going out for runs on your own and stuff. But that's another thing. It is hard to stay motivated just running on your own because, like you say, football, you love doing it. So when you're running, you're thinking, I just want to be on a football pitch, or I just want to be training. I don't want to be running on a road or running around a running track.
Yeah, because obviously usually just training amongst each other, having a laugh, having banter just before a match and that. So to have that taken away, it's like it just takes everything away essentially, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. But we'll get through it, I'm sure, and hopefully it won't be long now.
Yeah, I hope so, hopefully. But yes, thanks again, Jack, for taking the time out to do this interview. Really do appreciate that. I mean, it's nice as well, to be fair, because obviously, it's been a while since obviously we've seen what things have been happening for yourself. I mean, obviously you're playing still now, which is good, and hopefully you can perhaps maybe even get back into the league if obviously you keep performing well.
You never know. I'm not sure what the future holds for the time being, especially with lockdown and everything. But I'm just really enjoying my football with Ilkeston at the minute. So yeah, just see what happens.
Best way to be. Because when you start looking too far ahead, that's when things just don't go down to plan. I mean, obviously being a Mansfield fans, we know that all too well. So it's take each day as it comes, as we always say. Because that's when things have always just kind of gone downhill. And no matter how much we keep saying that, we just don't seem to learn. That's the biggest thing. I'm probably going to say that, obviously, but it's true. It's because it's always been the same thing. It's fans.
No, the club will get where it wants to be. I'm sure it will.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it won't be long.
Yeah, I hope so. But yeah, thanks again, Jack, for taking the time out. Appreciate that. And just the best of luck to you, really, mate.
Yeah, you too, mate. Take care.
You too, mate. Bye.
Yeah. See you, mate. Bye.
See you, mate.